There are many different ways of learning Likutey Moharan, different chapters you can do. But tonight, as we've been going through all my classes with all my chevra here, we started section. Likutey Moharan is divided into two parts, part 1 and part 2. And in part 2, we start off by starting from the beginning, from chapter 1, chapter 2, which we just finished. And now we're starting chapter 3. Chapter 3's class today is going to be one full class, and we'll finish the whole chapter. This kind of a class is going to be a little bit, the word is not controversial. The word is, I didn't know that. Oh my God. That's the wording of what I'm going to say. And it is controversial in the sense that I feel like people don't know about this information. And when they do, there's also so many other different factors involved in regards to how we're going to solve the problems. And then we'll discuss it as we go. This class specifically deals with a concept called the Pidyon Hanefesh. Do you know what a Pidyon Hanefesh is? Anybody? Yes. What is it? Yes, what is it? Right.
So you kind of take him out of trouble. The period. So you don't do the monetary exchange.
Good.
Actually, came from Bechorot.
That's different. So you're talking about Pidyon Haben. That's when you have a firstborn. Pidyon Hanefesh is an interesting concept. I'll tell you basically what it is, and we're going to go into the details of what it's all about. Yes, the Bechorot, but Pidyon Hanefesh is a different thing. Pidyon Hanefesh is, God forbid a person gets sick. Chas v'shalom. So one of the mechanisms that was practiced, and especially during the time of when there was tremendous amount of tzaddikim in the world, this goes back in time for many generations, but even most recently, Pidyon Hanefesh means if I'm sick, God forbid, there is a mechanism where I give tzedakah to a tzaddik. The tzaddik does specific type of prayers, so to speak, can ascend up to the heavenly courts and get rid of your judgment and essentially get rid of the sickness. Okay? To this day, it's being done. To this day, it's something that the people that are in the know, it's almost like a no-brainer. You should definitely do it, nothing to lose. The question is, who do you give it to? How does that work? We'll talk about that later. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the behind the scenes. Rabbi Nachman, we're going to talk about this in a lot of detail in regards to how the whole process works. Why is it that we do this? Okay. This is like a very important chapter, and I find it apropos. It's pure coincidence as we're going to start off the first beginning part of this chapter. But right now, as we speak, we're seeing now a new wave, chas v'shalom, of the sickness that's affecting the world, right? And it's pure coincidence that we're running into this chapter, and literally the exact same timing that this whole thing now, this new wave, so to speak, is coming. Whether you look at it as seriously or not seriously, that's a different conversation. Okay, everybody's good Hebrew? You can read Hebrew? Yes? Beautiful. Good? Okay, so Rabbi Nachman begins like this. What I do is normally we speak in English, we do in Hebrew, we do in English, and I'll try my best to explain as much as we can as we go. So Rabbi Nachman begins and he says, Keshechala Rabbi Eliezer Hagadol Amar Rabbi Akiva. So there's a story in Masechet Sanhedrin in the Gemara, and he talks about Rabbi Eliezer the Great. He got very sick, and he says to his main student, Rabbi Akiva, Chema Aza Ba'olam. There's a fierce anger in the world. What are we talking about here? So the Gemara teaches, first of all, Rabbi Eliezer, you have to understand, he was probably, at that time, probably the highest level tzaddik of that generation, right? And it's a very well-known teaching that when the generation is having, let's say, a lot of dinim, there's a lot of judgments on the generation, the guys who take the fall are the tzaddikim. They're the ones that suffer, so to speak, and deal with a lot of aggravation because of the Jewish people. Sometimes it's even at the world at large, okay? Now, when he was talking about this concept of having a fierce anger in the world, right, you also have to know this rabbi, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hyrcanus, he lived right after the destruction of the temple, right? And you can imagine, we don't have a temple at that time anymore, it gets destroyed. The concept of anger, Hashem's anger on the world, on the Jewish people for everything that we messed up on was pretty serious. That's why we lost the Beit HaMikdash, right? So you see already that he's talking about it and in a way saying like, and as Rabbi Nachman was about to tell you, we ain't got no hope here, guys. What's up, brother? Wow. So Rabbi Nachman continues and he says, Ki lo haya az misha yuchal lehamtik adin. There was nobody who can mitigate the strict judgment. Basic concepts. Chas v'shalom, a person sins. Okay, if a person sins, this is like basics 101. Okay, you have to get rid of the judgments that fall upon you when you have a sin, right? So God forbid a person could get sick, a person loses their wealth, problems in their lives coming from all aspects, okay? It doesn't just magically happen. The reasoning why it's happening is because you have sins that are on you. Now, I could also say there could be sins on you from this lifetime, or it could be sins from a previous lifetime that we're trying to rectify. Which sometimes almost people beat themselves up sometimes, right? But that's just the reality. It is what it is. We're here to do a soul correction in this world, right? And everybody has to experience what they have to experience in life as part of that soul correction so that our neshama can fly up to Shemayim after 120 years. That's the way it works, okay? So in this case specifically, right, the dinim, the judgments were so strong, right? And look what he was saying, Liz. There was nobody who can mitigate the strict judgment. This concept of, just like there's dinim, this concept of gevurah, of harsh judgments, there's also the concept of sweetening the judgments, of kindness, of chesed, okay? At that time specifically, there was nobody who can sweeten the judgment. It was so difficult. So Rabbi Nachman continues and he says, Ki haya tzarich lepidyon lechamtik hadin velo nimtza. Ki be'emet achar hamtaka ve'hapidyon as daika tov lepal ha'holeh ayidei refuah. So first of all, he says, there was nobody, number one, who can mitigate that strict judgment. There was nobody and he says, in order to mitigate this judgment, that this Rabbi Eliezer was super sick, you needed somebody where you can actually do this concept of the redemption, the Pidyon Hanefesh. That was the thing that was needed, Rabbi Nachman was saying. Again, just to recap, what is a Pidyon Hanefesh, right? When you give money to a tzaddik, right, based upon a strict judgment that's on yourself, and the tzaddik prays for you, there are different mechanisms as to how that works, which we're not going to go into detail right now in this class, how the whole aspect of what he says and does. One of the things that it's a well-known custom in the Breslov world, as you know, many Breslovers go to Uman for Rosh Hashanah. It's almost like a guaranteed thing. You go to different rabbis and they do a Pidyon Hanefesh for you. It's almost like you should do it anyways to like cover yourself for the year, so to speak. Okay? I could tell you in my own situation, I'll go sometimes to Rabbi Shalom Arush. I go to him directly. Here's tzedakah for my Pidyon. Okay, this is the real thing, happens all the time. Okay, you can do this even to today. Now, Rabbi Nachman then he says, and since there was nobody who can do it, so he says, Ki be'emet, achar hamtaka ve'hapidyon, as daika toler pod ha'choleya derefuot. Big statement, huge statement. Treating sick people with medicine is only appropriate only after the mitigation and redemption. Ki azai daika achar hapidyon hamtaka yesh reshut lerofeh larpaot. Only then, after you've gotten this Pidyon Hanefesh, only then does the doctor have a license to cure you. That's a big statement. That's not playing around. Why is that? So now we're going to learn. Next page. Because in truth, Rabbi Nachman asks, how is it possible that a doctor can actually cure a patient with remedies and drugs? He says he has no idea which medicine is required in order to cure that particular person. There says there's many medicines that are effective for curing a disease, right? We see it today, right? You could talk about it from a simple level of COVID, right? There's different drugs that are out there today. However, when you want to tell me they're safe, I'm not even going to go into what's good, what's not good. There's many different methods to cure COVID. Many. Allegedly, there's many. Okay? From the most homeopathic to ivermectin to the vaccine. I don't even want to go there. Let's just keep it simple. There's many different ways to cure that. So then he says, this sick person can only be cured by the specific medicine designated to heal him as decreed on high. Meaning, how is the doctor going to know which medicine exactly is for you if really in Shamayim, it really knows what's good for you? Now, Rabbi Nachman is going to explain what he means by that, so he gives you proof to back it up. This is what we learn in the Masechet Avodah Zarah in the Gemara. It's decreed up on high. Sheidrape ayidei sam ploni, ve'ayidei ish ploni, beyom ploni. It is decreed on high that a person is going to be cured by this and this medicine and by the hand of this and this person and on specific day. It's to the T. Okay? That's on high. Yes? Mm-hmm. So Rabbi Nachman right now is giving you a proof from the Gemara. And he continues and he says, how, if that's the case, how can a doctor presume to administer treatment? He doesn't even know which medicine, which was decreed on high. Is the doctor that smart that he knows exactly up on high which one it is? Rabbi Nachman is asking a very difficult question. And I want to say even more so, and again, I'm going to go a little bit more above and beyond, but the reality is we're seeing it right now. Look at the confusion that's happening right now. The lack of trust in doctors in today's time because of what's going on. Who are these doctors? Who do they think they are? Do they know? These are the questions that are happening in today's generation, in today's time, happening left and right. Rabbi Nachman's talking about this over 200 and something years ago. Okay, it's a very well-known thing. Rabbi Nachman wasn't the most, let's say, pro-doctor. He had his specific opinions on how doctors were. He said you should go to doctors. It was very clear when, what, how. But he also said very specifically, and he says this many times, that the doctors have the right to cure you. And he'll talk about how this all works. Again, he's going to break it down. But he really did say, right, that sometimes almost the doctor is like sent from the angel Hamavet to actually kill you. And that's their job sometimes. Chas v'shalom. It's a very difficult thing to swallow. This is very hard information for a lot of people. But Rabbi Nachman wasn't playing games. He's not here to sugarcoat anything for anybody. Okay? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagav.
Pretty sad.
What?
The way it plays out, like medical errors.
Yeah, and again, it's not like a secret here. It's a known thing. People, it is what it is. Sometimes doctors mess up. They're human. That's what it meant to be from Shemayim. Very good. And therefore, if you're putting, just let's clarify what you just said. If I'm putting so much emphasis on science, what am I taking the emphasis away from? Hashem and Emunah. It's not mutually exclusive. I'm not saying, again, let's clarify. Yes, what you're saying is correct, that they do base it on science. That's fine, right? And we're relying on science, but we're not trusting in Hashem, on spirituality, or really how the way the whole mechanism works. On top of all that, right? My question is based upon what you're saying. What are you trying to say? What do you want? What is it that you're trying to?
I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm kind of using the soil, and that was just out there, but the fact that the Baptist is a great thing. It's just culturally where we are right now as a society in this last 100 years.
Okay. Okay. Fair. Okay, but we got the question. We're good? Rabbi Nachman continues and he says, Abal achar hamtaka behapidyon az yachol lerapot. But after the mitigation means sweetening the judgment. I want to be clear. Mitigation means I'm sweetening the judgment. And this pidyon nefesh, the redemption, as yachol lerapot. Now the doctor can cure. Ki mashet tzarich sheirapet daika ayidei sam ploni beish ploni umechamat midat hadin. So he says, the reason that one person is actually cured by a specific medicine that you're given, and it's done by a specific doctor, is due to this concept of the attribute of judgment. Judgment is din, okay? Shekefi midat hadin nigzar sheyumshach polad ad oto hazman beyom ploni. So he says here, this attribute of judgment, this din, it decrees that this illness has to last until a specific time and date. Just to be clear again, what's the concept of attribute of din, right? Hashem, when he made the world, if he was going to only go by this concept of attribute of din, nobody could survive, right? If I'm just being judged as, for anything you do wrong, you can't even live. So the way God made the world is he's going to have an attribute of judgment. That's one part. And then it's also be the concept of compassionate, benevolent, rachum vechanun, right? That's the other aspect of Hashem. He's got two sides here. And you need both. Okay? And again, just to define it from a Kabbalistic perspective, chesed is representation of compassion and kindness. Gevurah is the concept of din, judgment, strict, punctual. Right? Because if you're too much chesed, you're going to be late. Right? So you have to have both. So now, therefore, that being said, sam ploni beish ploni yumshach olat ayom ploni. So he says here, same idea goes. It's decreed that this specific person can only be cured by these specific things. A specific medicine, we just learned this in the Gemara, a specific medicine and a specific person. So what? So that illness should last until the specified day. The time it takes for that illness that the person has is only determined by, first of all, it's done from up on high, right? And really, the specifics are decreed up on high on when exactly that person is going to get healed. And he repeats himself. That's to ensure that he cannot be cured until these conditions coincide. One more time, he repeats it. Sam ploni vish ploni, a particular medicine, and obviously a particular person who's going to cure you. So he will not be cured until a particular day. Now, what that means is, just on a simple level, right? God forbid, let's say a person has a specific, let's go for the specific sickness, whatever that is, right? Sometimes a person gets sick, and then let's say you're decreed to have that for X amount of time, and let's make it a window. I don't even want to go so much specific. Let's say the thing was, I don't know, a couple months, right? But when you got it originally, whatever that is, right? You're looking around, you're going to the doctor, and let's say that was scheduled, this is going to be with you for 3 months. So let's say hypothetically, it could be that after 1 month, you're like, I don't know what to do, which doctor should I go to? And then you finally say, oh, somebody tells you, oh, there's this doctor in New York, he's really amazing, right? So that could, by the time you get the appointment with that doctor, it's another month. And then the doctor gives you a medicine, it takes about 2 weeks to get here. So you take those medicine for 2 weeks, finish 3 months, exactly the time that God said that's when it has to be finished. You have to go through these motions, so to speak, but internally, the decree has been done. The doctor's going to give it to you. This is the medicine. That's how long exactly it's going to be, period. That's the deen, that's the judgment on that person. Okay? Now Rabbi Nachman continues based on that. We turn to page 170, 171. And here is the kicker. However, when a redemption is effected, when you do that pidyon, what happens? That strict judgment, that deen that is on that person is mitigated. Mitigated means it's sweetened. Umamtikin adin. The decree is cancelled. Now look at this. In the meantime, before another judgment can be issued on you, this is scary stuff if you think about it, but it is what it is. So he says, when one judgment is mitigated, what happens? Another judgment is decreed. Where is he getting that from? So we learned this in Masechet Rosh Hashanah. He's bringing you another pasuk from the Gemara to back himself up. Okay? So he says, you have a deen. This is the sickness. This is on the person. So now you do this Pidyon Hanefesh. Good. So now that Pidyon Hanefesh wipes it out. Okay? But guess what? There's another judgment coming. Masechet Rosh Hashanah says, Rabbi Yitzchak said, crying out to God is very beneficial for a person before and after a decree is issued. Why would it tell me after the decree is issued? Why? Because there's another one coming. You have to constantly cry out to Hashem. That's where it's coming from. That's number one. Number two is he brings you a beautiful pasuk from Shlomo Melech, from Ecclesiastes, and he says, there is no man so entirely righteous on earth that does good and he never sins. There's no such thing as a person who's perfect. Unfortunately, we're human. We have sins, and sins unfortunately equals dinim. However method they come, that's why they come at you. It's only because of the sin. So therefore, Rabbi Nachman is telling you, okay, and now we're about to explain that based upon this idea that you know that there's another dinim coming. We just got rid of this specific one right now that we're talking about by doing the sweetening of the judgment. What do we do then? After the first judgment is mitigated and before a second one is imposed, what happens? Now that the guy, we did the Pidyon Hanefesh with the tzaddik, he sweetened that judgment, now the doctor can use medicines to cure the patient. So it's like a kind of like a mini shortcut, so to speak here. Get rid of the judgment, hurry up, go to the doctor, hopefully a good one, that knows what he's doing and he's going to give you the right medicine. But at the end of the day, that judgment is not on you right now. It's open game. That's when you should go. Why? So he says, because at that moment, right now, the judgment was sweetened. There is no strict judgment. And that patient now can be cured. Look at the wording. It says by any medicine, so to speak. Because at the end of the day, so to speak, the judgment's gone. If everything is coming from Shamayim, it doesn't matter anymore what's happening here. It's all coming from above. And the tzaddik, so to speak, got rid of that. So now you can cure him. Davka. And therefore, he says he doesn't need a specific medicine and so on, since there's no strict judgment in force. That first of all shows you the importance of how serious it is, this concept of having a deen, and how really it's all not really in this world that we're dealing with stuff. It's all in the upper worlds and in spiritual worlds that this battle really is happening, right? We're good so far? Questions? Not yet? Okay. Now, Rabbi Nachman continues and he says, Nimtza, she'iyah shal lerofa lerpaot, ki im al yedei pidyon. So he says that when this redemption, which we spoke about, is the most important part, the before the doctor can cure, she'tzrichim lasot piyon tehila lehamtik adin. This redemption has to be made beforehand to mitigate the strict judgment. And therefore now the doctor has a license to cure. Now, we're about to go into something that is amazing. Normally, I would have some printouts to really have that information in front of you. We're about to have a little bit of a Kabbalah session here because Rabbi Nachman is about to bring some of the stuff in. But this is an incredible chidush that is just mind-blowing, okay? He's about to back up everything he just said to you. That is amazing. Ready? Here we go. Follow along with me. V'zehu v'rapo yerapeh. Everybody know that pasuk. Very famous pasuk. It says it in the book of Shemot. That is the pasuk. V'rapo yerapeh is the famous line that allows a doctor to cure you. That is the line in the Torah. Okay? Rabbi Nachman is bringing it out. In English, it means, V'rapo yerapeh means, and he shall thoroughly cure him. Now, those words, V'rapo yerapeh, mispar, Pidyon nefesh. If you take the gematria of V'rapo yerapeh, gematria means taking, again, yes, we're good? Hebrew letters, converting them into numbers. Okay, and one of the methods also of doing gematrias is adding the kollel, is adding the words to a gematria. So if you take V'rapo yerapeh, which equals 578, add the two words, V'rapo yerapeh, it equals 580. It's the same numerical value as Pidyon nefesh. Okay? That's awesome. But wait, there's more. Ki ikaha refuah, because essentially the healing, pidyon davka, takin. So as we said, the healing comes about specifically through this redemption, through the pidyon, through mitigating the strict judgment. So Rabbi Nachman now continues and he says, and this is what our sages of blessed memory taught. In Masechet Brachot, we were learning a lot of Gemara tonight, guys, as you can see. Learning a lot of Torah. Mikan shednatna Torah reshula rofel rapa'ot. Right? He's about to just show you a little bit of the background on this V'rapo yerapeh. From Masechet Brachot, it says, it's from here that the Torah grants a doctor a license to cure. We learn from this specific pasuk. Mikan daika, specifically from here, Hainu achara pidyon. That's after the redemption. I just want to show you what Rabbi Nachman just did. Amazing. He's saying, look at the pasuk again in Hebrew. Mikan shetnadna Torah reshula rofel rapot. That is the pasuk in Masechet Brachot. Okay? Mikan specifically goes, so it says, Mikan, from here, the Torah grants a doctor license to cure. What does from here mean? Usually when you say from here, it's like from this point. From this point, what's this point? From the moment you have the redemption, you can now cure. Mikan, from here. That's after the redemption. So that's why Rabbi Nachman says, Mikan, literally like from here. Daika. Hayinu achara pidyon, as daika yesh lo reshula rofel rapa'ot. Only then is a doctor permitted to administer treatment. He called them a pidyon ein reshula rofel rapa'ot. Because prior to that redemption, a doctor has no permission to administer treatment. Because as we learn, the patient must be cured by a particular medicine, a particular person, a specific time. That's the dinim. Only after the redemption and mitigation does he have the license to cure. Good. So far, so good. You show me something from the Torah that shows me a very nice connection with what we're talking about. Let's go further. Let's go deeper now. This is awesome. Okay, let's talk about vowels. Hebrew vowels. Let's look at the words together. Rapo, yerapeh. You see the first peh in rapo? You see there's a dot on top of the peh? That's called a cholam. Yes? We're all good with that? That's the cholam. Yerapeh, see how the peh has an eh? That's called a tzereh. You see that? I want to make sure we're all good here. Good. So Yerapo has peh has an o, that's a cholam, and the peh has an eh. So now Rabbi Nachman is about to break down the cholam and the tzereh and show you how with these two specific things, it literally connects everything together. This is going very deep in Kabbalistic ideas and concepts, but I'm telling you, it's amazing. So he says, this concept of the cholam, it signifies mitigation. A cholam is the concept of the sweetener, so to speak. Why is that? So if you guys even look at the notes on the bottom on 18, it's a good reference for you so you can actually verbally see it. The word achlama, and they're taking that from the book of Yeshayahu, has the same root word. See, chalam is the root word of achlama, is the same root word as cholam. Can you see that? Achlama, which means recovery and healing. That's what it means. Cholam has the same exact words. We can take two words in the Torah. This is the way that Hashem taught us how to teach. Okay, how do we learn? We can connect one word to another word, and there's a connection between them. Okay? Say it again? Letters, yes. Letters, correct. In this case, it's the main letters. Achlama means recovery and healing. Cholam is essentially the same wording as achlama. So now we're saying, so the cholam, that dot, that first dot of rapo on the top, the cholam is the representation of healing and mitigation of decrees. Very good. So that's one thing. That's what the cholam represents. Kambubi Kitikte Hari, and this is brought now in the writings of the Arizal, Zichron Lebracha, may his memory be blessed. Shecholam gematria shalosh chavayot shechemamtikim shlosha elokim shebagara. Okay, let's go back a little bit because this is also an incredible thing. If you could also see in the notes of the 19, you can kind of like actually verbally see it as well. The Arizal teaches in the book Priyetz Chaim, an incredible book, and he says as follows. You could see it says Vav Lamed Shin. Vav Lamed Shin is the last three letters of when we say the priestly blessings, when we talk about the three different brachas that the Kohanim give you. If you're Sephardic, you get it every day. The last three is Vayesem Lecha Shalom. That's the last three. Okay? If you take Vayesem Lecha Shalom, those three words, the numerical value is 336. Is there anything higher than Shalom? It's the best. Peace is the best. Right? And I mean peace. Peace means health-wise, peace with yourself, peace with your children, peace because I have money, I'm okay, I can live. I'm peace. I mean, that's the best. That's the best bracha a person can have is shalom. That's why that's Hashem's name also. Okay? Gematria is 336. Now, if you look at Hashem's name, Yud K Vav K, okay? Gematria of Yud K Vav K is 26. Multiply 26 times 3 is 78. Yud K Vav K is the representation of Hashem's name of energy. It's pure chesed, it's kindness, it's goodness, it's everything is nice. Elokim is dinim, judgment, difficult, tough, right? That's Elokim, right? Obviously, the Elokim is still loving. He loves you, just like a father sometimes might reprimand you if you're doing something wrong. But that's Elokim. Let's go back. Yud K Vav K, Gematria is 26. Times 3 is 78. You take the name Elohim. Elohim gematria is 86 times 3, 258. If you add 258 and you put a 78 on top to sweeten that judgment, 258 is Elohim. You took the Yud Kei Vav Kei 3 times and you put them and add them to this, that equals 336. Vayesem lecha shalom. When you sweeten the judgment with Hashem's Yud Kei Vav Kei, you sweeten that Elohim. These are just principles and ideas. Fine. Now that we said that, let's go back. So now he says like this. Cholam has the same numerical value as 3 times Yud Kei Vav Kei. Guys, listen to what I just said, and if you need me to repeat, I'll repeat it to you because this is unbelievable. Hashem has the gematria Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is sweetness, which is kindness, which is generous, which is benevolent, which is what we need. It's the sweetening of this judgment that we're talking about. 3 times Hashem's name is 26 times 3, 78. Cholam, the O on top of the Rapo, which I mentioned to you before, deals with what? Sweetening the mitigation, right? Because I told you about the word achlama, which means recovery and healing. Yeah? Cholam is also 78, aka Yud Kei Vav Kei, aka the sweetening of the judgment. Amazing. Okay. Right, that's what we want at the end, right? If he sweetens it out, then we're getting peace, right? Now we go backwards and he says, and those specific, this cholam, this Yud Kei Vav Kei, as the Arizal brought down, he just learned some very heavy duty Kabbalah. Arizal just says, those 3 Yud Kei Vav Keis, that's what mitigates the 3 Elokims, right? We need those 3 to mitigate 3 so we can have shalom, as we just learned. This is brought down also in the Zohar. He talks about the concept of, and this is very important, Shlosh Elokim shebegaron, the 3 Elokim in the throat. What does the throat have anything to do with this concept? The throat is a concept of what? Constriction. When you think about a throat, it's very narrow, right? Right? And usually there's a concept of it's coming from the mind, the body, the head, which is so much of the goodness of us inside. It's our brain. And everything's flowing down. It's like tightness right here. So the throat represents this concept of constriction. That's the concept of the 3 Elokim in the throat. So Rabbi Nachman says, Shechen mochi dekadnu. These 3 are the constricted mentalities. Mochi dekadnu means limited consciousness. I think Gedalia might say it in a more easier way, is when you're, God forbid, going through some difficulties and challenges, and you just don't know. I don't know what to do. My mochin dekadnus is so small. Hashem, open up my mind. Give me mochin degadlut. Open up my consciousness so that I can actually think straight and know what I'm supposed to do. Okay? The 3 Elokims represent this. When you're so if this is the concept of constrictionness, and now you're in mochin dekatnut, right? So this limitedness is coming down through here. Okay. Why are we talking about this? So he says, mochin dekatnut, these 3 constricted mentalities, sheyordin begaron, they go down to the throat, they descend to the throat. They're mitigated by these 3 Yud Kei Vav Keis, gematria cholam, which is a numerical value of cholam. So what did Rabbi Nachman just prove based on that? Number 1, cholam. That first dot of Vera po, the first po, that represents healing because of achlamat, same word. Number 2, it's 3 times, it's the same gematria, 3 times Yud Kei Vav Kei, which we just learned through the Arizal that you need those 3 Yud Kei Vav Keis to sweeten the 3 names of Elohim. So it's the same gematria. So we see that the all is really representation of healing. Amazing. Are we good on that? Does that concept make sense? Yes. So then Rabbi Nachman says, and guys, after this little paragraph, we're done for the night. We actually learned the full chapter of Likutey Moharan, which I'm very proud of you guys. But here we go. Okay. Yeah. One more time. Say it again.
3 times
Yud Kei Vav Kei, the same gematria as cholam. Same gematria. Healing. You see, it's a double. He's showing it to you double time. Cholam equals achlama. Achlama means healing, recovery. That's what it means. Cholam and achlama, the same word. That's one. Two, cholam gematria 78 equals 3 times Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is what you need to heal. Good? You have it? Now, what is Seirei? We just learned the po of Yerapo. Now the next word is Yerapeh. Azai, Acharam Taka. Then after this mitigation, after the sweetening of the judgments, this Yud Kei Vav Kei 3 times, this Cholam, after all that, Betzeire. Now we have the Yerapeh, the word Yerapeh, Betzeire, with that Tzeire, the 2 dots that are going to go Bechina, then he brings you a pasuk from the book of Yirmiyahu. And the pasuk is Hatzari ein begilad im rofe ein sham. In English, it means, is there no tsari? Tsari is a balm. Balm is something that you use for healing purposes, right? In Gilead, that's the question. Is there no healer there? So you're seeing that the word tsari, which is the balm that we use for healing, is the same word as what? Seirei. The 2 dots, the of Yerapeh, Seirei, Tsari. Same wording, means to heal. Okay, that's what it means. And again, he's giving you a pasuk to back it up. Shehu bechinat v'rapo becholam. And this alludes to healing. What do we mean by healing? Look at the pasuk. What was the pasuk all about? Just to learn about the pasuk of Yirmiyahu. Yirmiyahu cries out about all the afflictions of the Jewish people that suffered on account of their many sins. Sound familiar? What I mentioned to you before? And the lack of righteous leaders able to affect healing by turning them back to Hashem. So here you see Rabbi Nachman's bringing you the concept of Tzeirei, the 2 dots under Yerapeh, and connecting it to Tsari, which means balm, which means healing. Rabbi Nachman then shows you as daika yecholin lehirpaot ayedei refuot. Only after the mitigation, which is rapo, with the cholam, shehu refuot shehu bechina yerapeh terere. Can you only cure using medicines, which is yerapeh, aka a balm, which is what it does use for healing, with a tzeirei. Okay, so let me get this straight just one more time. Let's just sum it up. Rabbi Nachman just went to town on you guys. I don't know if you think your mind is like hopping. This is amazing. The main pasuk that is used to heal people is what? V'rapo yerapeh. We learned that from the Chumash. That is Judaism 101. Rabbi Nachman then says, Yerapo yerapeh? Yeah, that's the same gematria as Pidyon Nefesh. What did I say to you? If you don't have a Pidyon Nefesh, the doctor can't cure you. Oh, okay, fine, no problem. Thank you. That's so nice, Rabbi Nachman, that you found the 2 words. Gematria, very cool. Oh, no, let's go deeper. By the way, just so you know, when we learn Torah and we learn about the Chumash, the highest levels of learning it, we know that the letters are very important. We know that the vowels are very important. The cantillations are super important. Like it goes in levels. The cantillations is another high level, and the highest level are the crowns of the actual letters. Okay, so we're going to level 2. Level 2 is fine. Now let's look at the vowels of the letters. Okay, we're going into that level now. And he's showing you, let's go there. You want to go there? No problem. The yara po, which is the first word, o equals cholam. Cholam equals what? The same wording as achlama. What's achlama? Healing. Oh, okay, cool. So the po of achlama is healing. That's fine. Recovery. Perfect. So what? Then on top of that, he says, oh, and by the way, cholam is the gematria of 3 times Yod Kei Vav Kei. Okay, so what does that mean? That it's a very well-known thing. The Rizal talks about it. That 3 Yod Kei Vav Keis is needed to overcome the three Elokims. Because that's the way you sweeten the judgment, by having Hashem's kindness jump on top of the judgment of Elokim, which is the judgment Hashem, and that knocks it out. That sweetens the judgment. Okay, thank you so much. Fine. So now we knock that out of the way. And then he goes, okay, so now we know that. And on top of that, by the way, one more thing. So what happens if the 3 Yud Kei Vav Keis jump onto the three Elokims, the full gematria of putting those names all together. What does that equal? 336. What does that equal? Vayisem lecha shalom, which means you're going to be healed. That's what it means. It just means peace in your whole body, right? Cholam represents the concept of that, what I'm saying to you, the concept of doing the Pidyon HaNefesh. That's part one. And part two was what? Tserei. What was the Tserei of Yera Peh? The Peh, the two dots. Tserei means Tserei means Tsari. Tsari means balm, which means healing. And therefore, based on this idea, looking on the inside of the actual vowels, that's what Rabbi Nachman says. You see what I'm telling you? You first need to do the Cholam, then you get to the Tserei. And then you can get healed. Wow, amazing. Now, on a more deeper level, because we can discuss this and it can just go on and on and on, but just so you know, not everything is as simple as I'm saying it to you, right? Because then, hypothetically, number one, everybody in the whole world will be doing it, right? So the question is, back in the day, Rabbi Nachman was very clear. He's like, it's very complicated also to do one of these things because you need a true tzaddik who can actually do something like this. In Shemayim, there are 24 heavenly courts, 24. And a person is judged in only one of those courts. So now you're going to tell me that you're going to go to the tzaddik, and the tzaddik has to now take it. And he says, most tzaddikim, they only know really, maybe, how to get to one of those heavenly courts to intercede for you in Shemayim. That's a 1 in 24 chance that he's going to get it right. Which court he's going to go to. Rabbi Nachman also says that in every generation, there's one person that knows how to get into all 24. Can literally go to Shemayim and go into all 24 courts and petition for you. Rabbi Nachman was one of those. He was the one of the generation that knew how. That being said, okay, understanding that idea, there's also, I'm going to give you some extra concepts, tidbits, take it with what it's for. Some concepts of Pidyon HaNefesh also is an idea of breaking the night. I'll throw it in because it's fun. Gedalia might say, you have to break the night. You have, like I'm talking your language here. I like to talk more in this kind of language. But this is the same idea. When a person wakes up for Hatzot, when you wake up in the middle of the night, okay, to do Tikkun Kali. Tikkun Kali is also very nice. But when you wake up to do Tikkun Hatzot and you do these prayers, what are you doing? You're breaking your sleep and you're breaking the night. What does the night represent? Darkness, difficulties, hardships, lost. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. No, I'm not talking to the guy in the back of it. But listen to what I'm saying to you. When you don't know what to do, when it's darkness, I can't see what's happening in front of me, right? A person needs to wake up during Hatzot, specifically in the second time when there's a lot of chesed. That's what happens when there's Hatzot. It's pure chesed time. And you speak to Hashem and you ask Hashem for mercy and help, etc. That's a minor version of something a person can do for himself. Nowadays, what do we do with Pidyon HaNefesh? I mentioned to you already. There are mechanisms. You can go to certain rabbis. These rabbis, right, that know, first of all, are connected in understanding how the Pidyon HaNefesh works. That's one thing. You can do to several people and do Pidyon HaNefesh with different people, giving tzedakah and having them recite that specific prayer. There are many things you have to do. There are many people that know what they're doing and they know how to do it. And to the extent even to they pray that they connect themselves with Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, some of them even at their kever, they connect themselves to the tzaddik and say, look, I don't know how, but you know how. Remember, a tzaddik is more alive in this world than he is when he's alive. A tzaddik is more alive in the next world, in this world, than he was when he's here. He has much more power now. He's not alive anymore. He can do more things in Shemayim. So they connect themselves to him, and the idea is doing that Pidyon HaNefesh to do it for you. Therefore, based upon these ideas, I think what we can take home is this. Some people are still very stuck. We talk about the concept of science. Some people are just stuck with the idea. Forget about science. People just trust in the doctor and they forgot trusting in Hashem and asking for Hashem's help and only thinking about things from a Hashem level. And the doctor is like, for some people, the doctor is everything. The doctor says this, that's it. And they almost like, as if like, no, the way to do it is whatever I'm doing, Hashem, whatever I'm taking, please let this heal me, because you're the only one that heals me. It's not the doctor, it's not the medic. You have to think like that. It's just a very simple antidote, but most people don't. They're so tied into the system of how they think that they almost forget how they take Hashem and they completely throw him out of the picture. Right? That's one thing. And the second thing is to keep in the back of your mind, chas v'shalom, no one should ever have to experience it. But if you know somebody specifically and you feel that they might need the pidyon, okay, you can always contact me on the side. I can guide you to the right people that can help you with the pidyon. Okay? Because as you just learned, right, and I just went into Gemaras across the board to prove it to you, it's not just Rabbi Nachman saying to you, even though he went into it from a deeper Kabbalistic level, it's legit, it's real, it can help. You don't have anything to lose. You have to trust in Hashem, but you also have to trust in the tzaddikim. Zat Hashem, we should all see in our lives complete refuah, in all of our lives, in our families' lives, in our friends' lives. Zat Hashem, we should completely get rid of this machala in this world, and Hashem should reveal Mashiach ben Rav Yamin.
אתה הוא יוצרם, ואתה יודע יצרם. אמת כי הם בשר ודם. האדם בנפשו יביא לחמו משול כחרס הנשבר, כחצי יבש וחצי תנובר, כצל עובר